That's going to be interesting. We have some clients in Australia. What my guest today is Anthony Puttee, founder of FuseMate.io. Amazing story. We've been kind of catching up a little bit. He's built out an amazing business based on helping agency owners really focus on their CRM systems, and in this particular case, HighLevel. But before I go any further, Anthony, welcome to the show, and I'd love to get a brief intro from you.
Yeah, sure. Well, thanks for having me on the show. It's great to connect with you here, finally. So we're run a white labeled digital support agency. So we support a lot of agents, high level agencies using the HighLevel platform, and they need a lot of technical and creative support help. They're not in the place where they're looking to hire a huge internal sort of Western based team, but they're certainly looking for support. And so when they're looking for an outsource option, those are the people that tend to come to us who are seeking that help as they grow. Yeah, but didn't always start out that way. We started out servicing a lot of different platforms, and we ended up sort of eventually niching down just based on demand.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's amazing. So tell us a little bit about your story, Anthony. I know you're an avid traveler. You're a hiker. And, we were just talking about the COVID days as well, where you were spending some time in your RV along with your wife. So a little bit, tell me about, where you grew up and where you're coming from, what kind of education maybe, and then what led to starting FuseMate.
Yeah, sure. Well, I originally born in Australia. That's where I'm from, and that's where I grew up on the east coast there, on the Gold Coast of Australia, where it's known for its beaches, and that's where I grew up. And I started out going through college doing a lot of animation and digital technology there, and I was working in game studios. So I didn't always start out in marketing, but I started out there working in some couple of different companies.
What year is this?
We're going way back. 2010, I think.
That's good.
2011.
I like to put an age to my guests,
Yeah.
so that
Yes.
there's not
Yes.
a lot of guessing. But that's good, man. Still
Yeah.
a lot younger than I am, so go for it.
Yeah. Well, I don't know about that, but uh, yeah. So that's where I got my feet wet, basically, in a lot of the digital animation, digital space, a lot of story telling and creation there of a lot of digital assets, digital characters, and I ended up working in the games industry for a number of years, like Xbox 360, PlayStation 2 type of titles, and I was doing a lot of the technical rigging and animation there. What drives characters, a lot of their muscles and skeleton and stuff like that is actually creating a lot of that, and that's kind of where I really sort of niched in that space. I mean, it's amazing how niching as a topic comes up in all of marketing, but even with like careers in those types of industries, it still has its place, and it just makes you very valuable. So I worked at doing that, and the last game I worked on was the Avengers, for the first Avengers movie there, working on like PlayStation, Xbox. Yeah. So at that point, there were a number of layoffs that were happening, and they were closing down offices. There was a huge, I believe, if I recall correctly, it was a big tax structure change within Australia, because a lot of the big companies were going there to leverage a lot of the tax subsidies, so a lot of the tax benefits there from the US. But when a lot of that started to get pulled away, they started to close down some offices, and they were starting to let some people go. And at the time, I was running a side hustle, which was doing a lot of publishing and design and development in the publishing space, such as books and Kindle books, print books. And so at that point, it was like, okay, so along with everyone else, I can either just go and get another job doing this, or I can see where the side hustle can go. So that's what I chose to do. And I'd already had a couple of contacts in there, and I left and did that, starting out as a freelancer. And over the years years that followed, then grew into having a full-time team where I had a number of different contractors sort of working, and growing that out to doing a lot of books for a lot of speakers, coaches, influencers, and doing that for a number of years. And that was really cool. And that was my first taste in actually operating a business of my own, because I never started out in college thinking I'd ever own my own business or even be to where I am today. And I ended up growing that. I thought, I'm actually not bad at this. I have a lot to learn, but I'm liking the variety that creating and running a business provided. And I wasn't stuck in
Hmm.
one thing. And I really liked the ability to go from here to the admin to managing people to the creative. And that really, I got a lot of joy from that. And so
Hmm.
I grew that for a while, and that was where I started to implement a lot of automation for around productizing the services. So a lot of that industry at the time was doing a lot of bespoke work. It's a lot of custom work, invoices, that kind of thing. So I started to move away from that and productize a lot of what we did. And
Hmm.
so basically had a few set packages, and it's one of those, and away you go. And it has its own set of SOPs. And a lot of the follow-ups and operational automation at that time, I was using Ontraport, which is still around to this day, to do a lot of the operational automation, to the point where I had the team members running it, and I was able to pull myself out of the business. And it
Hmm.
was being able to reach that point, even though it was on a smaller scale than FuseMate, even though I was able to reach that point, that's where I had a few of my circle, my network, say, "How did you do that? Can you show me?" And that was
Hmm.
kind of like, aha, as I was looking for my next thing, that's kind of where the seed was dropped for me. Was planted, I should say, for what would become FuseMate.
Nice. So that's a very interesting journey. Start out east coast of Australia, literally getting your feet wet on the beaches and working in the
Oh, yeah.
animation studios and doing a lot of these animations for these amazing games design. So you're early on. You're introduced how important design is. In design is everywhere. I don't care what kind of business you're running right now. It's so important. Even a funnel needs to be designed, right? So that's where you got your early trainings, and then you had your side hustle, which is so important for so many of us entrepreneurs. Agency owners are all, I believe, I don't think I've met somebody who's gone out and looked at starting an agency as a career. They've all started these things out as a side hustle, and they've grown these businesses. And I love the fact what you just talked about, Anthony, that like when you were inside that business, you really enjoyed uh, being able to go from the design team to the production team to the sales team and the operations team and things like that. And I feel like, and that's part of the reason why I love my job so much as well. And so many of us entrepreneurs, we're kind of the same way, where we like multiple things going on at the same time, where so that we don't get bored. I don't know if that's the
It's a
case,
blessing
but
and a curse.
right.
Yes, because you still need, I think in order to be able to really scale and grow, there are certain structural things you want to have in place,
Hmm.
from an administrative, operational, and HR staff, team members,
Hmm.
where
Yeah.
where focus really is your friend. When you're looking with a long-term plan, and yet
Yeah.
there is this duality between that and the need to want to try different things. And I find a
Yeah.
lot of agency owners have succumbed to the bright shiny object, where they've been here and there's a new tool and there's new this and new this, and they're like, how can I incorporate all of this into my offer and solution? And we found people that have come to us who have fallen into that trap, where they're doing all of this, and they end up finding themselves going around circles. They've just overcomplicated things, and they've
Hmm.
lost that focus, which allows them
Yeah.
to stay strong, stay steadfast, and go after that goal. But it's having done that has kept their interest over the years to keep doing what they're doing. I
Yeah, I
think
think I
it is
think that's the curiosity aspect, right?
yeah,
Where it gets us off the ground. But like so many people say that what got us here won't get
exactly.
us to the next level. So and what I kind of did on my side, and I'm that exactly like you, where I love the visionary aspect of running a business, but I'm not the implementer inside the business. So that's where my brother comes in. Who spent 13 years at J.P. Morgan Chase, and really got to retire last year because of this business, setting up systems and processes at the level of a bank. So, he comes in and he starts setting up processes and systems. Or, his favorite line is no single point of failure. So, like for me, I love living on the edge, but it's amazing that I have somebody on my right hand side who's really good in processes. On my other side is my other brother, who's my CFO, who's really great at managing money and things like that. So it kind of
You all complement
let's
each other very well.
exactly right,
Mhm.
exactly. So I think that's also a key when you're growing a business. So tell me a little bit about so you went through this amazing journey, and now you're at a point where people are saying that, okay, Anthony, you're amazing at these automations, and can you help us out? So what was that next step like, and what happened? I'm curious, what happened to your book publishing business?
Yeah. So basically, at that point where I was, the publishing business was kind of looking after itself with those few key players that are now looking after it, along with the systems that are doing. And that was that site, that business was all based on two means of leads and traffic. It was all SEO and it was referrals, and the whole thing just ran on that. I don't recall ever running any paid ads for that business. It was just run on that.
Hmm.
And it was just right up. The SEO was just helping people, a lot of helpful content, and knowing that a percentage of those people would put their hand up and say, "Look, I just need help with this. I just don't
Hmm.
have time, or I don't have the skills to do it." And so
Hmm.
from there, between that and the automations, it was able to sort of run. And so at that point, people started to say, well, I would love some help with this. How did you do it? Well, that's where I started to do some consulting. And that is where I started to form the bridge between doing that and diffuse maintenance. So doing the consulting, doing a lot of consultative bigger projects and things to really get my feet wet. It's like, yeah, is this something I want to pursue? And it got to the point where obviously that was not something that was scalable for myself, and just
Hmm.
myself. And so it had to be something bigger than that. So, okay, so these people obviously have a hard time trying to hire to get the help. And they,
Hmm.
they obviously just don't have the time to do this all themselves, even if I had a course or a program for them to follow. They would have to have the time to be able to view it all and go through and watch it all, which they were telling me they didn't have. And
Yeah.
they're obviously their families wanted to see them on the weekends. And so,
Hmm.
okay, so I could do that course, and that's great for me, and I would be hands off. That's not going to give value to them because they're not going to finish it. And then even after they finish it, they have to implement it, and they don't have time to do that, or necessarily, or the
Hmm.
skills they need to learn to then implement what they've actually learned. So I just thought these people just want it done for them. So it has to be more than just myself. So that's where the transition into, okay, so I've got to come up with a company and a name that needs to be something bigger than myself in order to be able to help these people out and grow the businesses. So they're working on them
Hmm.
instead of in them, as you well know. I'm sure you've heard that yourself. Um,
Yeah.
Solving a similar problem is helping people, build the businesses that they always envisioned them having, as opposed to being a slave to the business, right? And finding good people is a whole art and science unto itself, which you also help people
Hmm.
with. Yeah, so that's the key, and it can make all the difference if you have some of those A players. And that's where I was just like, okay, so I can take the idea of automating and helping them offload a lot of their tasks and build a great team where they can simply an on-demand team, in the sense that we do, that they can plug into. They don't have to train and hire. They know what they need done, and they just need the people to understand what it is they need done to go ahead and do it. And so
Hmm.
that's where FuseMate came about. So it was the idea of me being from Australia. It was like the idea of fusing together talent and skills and the technology for that to solve that problem, and also mate, as
Hmm.
in your friend, your partner in sort of business. And that was the whole Fuse Mate. That's where the name came about. Naming is really hard too, isn't it, Azar? It's just the toughest thing in the world. I see agencies, they're going through with their high level and they're coming up with all the different names, and just the anguish they go through and going around in circles is really hard. But if you're trying to think of a much bigger brand, it's worth putting the thought into. Yeah, I don't know if you
Hmm.
experienced that. Um,
Yeah, I think I'm kind of I think I'm kind of the opposite on this side. My brothers may take like days and days and days, but again, I think it's the type of personalities we have. I think we came up with RepStack on a bus ride
I
from
love it.
my house to downtown Calgary. I was heading to my co-working space that day. I'm like, yeah, we want a lot of our people's place inside one agency, and like reps was what we were going to, and stack was a big word that those days. Let's stack your services and all of that stuff. We were
Yeah,
like, let's call it rep stack. So we stuck with it for
that's good.
since then, since but so it's easy. But I think I love that. So fuse made like really heavy, so it really tells where you're from. I think that even the mate word is it has Australia written all over it. So when was this point when, at this point you're working with all sorts of businesses, helping out pretty much different types of businesses. When was the point that you transitioned to? I think right at this point, you're if not exclusively, mainly working with agency owners. Is that correct?
Yeah, we started out working direct to business, helping a lot of small businesses. And then we just started to get more agencies, say marketers and consultants, started to put their hand up and say, "Hey, look, I need this help. I need help with these few clients. I've had a few that would tell us about their hiring fails that they've had from trying different ways, and being
Yep.
told how easy it is just to go and find a VA, realizing that for someone who is not is a thinker and a doer are not as easy to find, and or as ready to go as they would led to believe." And so we had a lot of those stories. That's what you guys do too. Like, you help with that. It's providing those A players that can really become a true asset to your team. So basically, we just had a lot more demand for coming from the marketers and the consultants and the agencies, where we were also seeing a lot more. We could provide a lot of value as well, and they knew the lingo. They understood a lot of what we were able to do for them, and we could see that the value exchange was really high. They were able to get through a lot more, to the point where the demand basically was just saying, okay, so when it comes to our own internal company communications, it would really help to niche as well. So we're talking to one type of avatar, and that's where we thought, well, just looking at the numbers, obviously, there's who we're serving on the agency and the marketing side is growing exponentially. Let's look at that. So that's what we decided to, just to focus on. And so now your communication, your language, how you talk and converse with them is all very much the same, as opposed to switching gears and changing to the small business owner, in this sense, or a mid-sized company where your language and that is not necessarily the same. So it's going to be a little bit more in broad terms. There's a lot more education there. Whereas in order to get a lot more of that immediate value, and the turnover is much quicker, we saw the agencies and the marketers were enjoying more of that, and we were just getting more of them. So we just thought, well, let's just go in. Then we can streamline that part of our business from a communication standpoint. So that was where we did the decision. I'm sure there's some details in there, but I believe that's what it was.
And when was the point when you transitioned over to HighLevel exclusively? Because I know you were using different tools initially to create all the funnels and the marketing campaigns, but what made you stick with HighLevel?
I think it was probably about, it's probably going close to 2 years now, I believe. And HighLevel was just where a lot of the demand, we were just getting, like 8 out of the 10 calls we would have would be those who are looking to move to HighLevel. And what they were trying to do, what was quite involved, and because when they're adopting HighLevel, it's not just about having a few funnel pages to design and tasks, which is what we've done, but they're also looking at, well, operationally, I need to be looking at evaluating once again how I'm productizing my own service and cutting out a lot of these bright shining objects, and have that focused solution that I'm able to deliver, with HighLevel be part of the backbone to that. So those conversations tend to also be a little bit more of the strategy as well, and the how they're choosing to offer, not just about actually getting it done. So these conversations were occurring a lot more, so the needs were a lot higher, and we were just getting so much of it that, well, we could basically just look at focusing on this. A lot of the team really enjoyed working on it as well, and it allowed us to have some custom things, processes that we could create to also make our lives a little bit more easier and more efficient when delivering for our end customers, which at that point was the agency's fully white label.
Yeah, I think that's really important. I've noticed that, especially for digital marketing agencies, and then who we choose to work with. If you are going to be servicing all sorts of businesses using all sorts of platforms, I'm not sure that at this point I'd be willing to work with a partner like that. I would be much more inclined to work with a company like FuseMate if I'm an agency owner, and I know you guys specialize in one thing and you guys do this thing amazingly, which is helping me out with anything to do with my HighLevel. And are you also finding a particular size of an agency that works really, really well with you guys, Anthony?
Yeah, they're typically agencies that already have a customers, several clients under their belt already that they're looking after. Those people, agencies that are just getting started, getting those first couple of clients aren't a good fit for us. So if they have the ability to be able to sell, they have maybe a small wait list, or they have no problem bringing on new clients, but they tend to be a better fit for us because they have the demand and the need there. And so there's a very clear and quick win that comes from them saying, I didn't have to work Saturday because you guys did that stuff for me. That was amazing, and it's time that demographic to hire. And we work with much bigger agencies that are doing in the upwards of a few million too. Yeah, yeah,
Very interesting.
yeah.
So identifying your niche, figuring that part out, then identifying the platforms that you guys are going to service, and then also the really customer avatar, which is agencies which are not really at the ground level, but who have some customers behind them and who are ready to scale to the next level. That's where you guys come in, and then you guys can be with them throughout their journey, all the way up to multiple seven figures from there.
Well,
So
that's
that.
right. That's right. Really look at them as like a growth partner, kind of much like yourself. And those people that really aren't ready for our monthly ongoing support service, then we have like other one-off templates and things that they can just purchase in order to help them get to the point where they have those clients, and they are now at the point where they just need to free up their time. And that's kind of where they can go, hey guys, they might need that extra
Yeah.
support, and grow with them from there. And we've had clients with us for years, and so retaining clients is really important to us, and that also goes into retaining team members too, which I think is a really important topic when it comes to scaling a business and getting the most from the investments you put into your team is retaining them, and I think remote culture is just
Yeah.
super critical today. And I look at it as an investment. It's culture is not just this airy
let's
fairy thing people talk about. It's real.
let's talk about that. Let's talk about what's the size of your team right now, and how have you kind of, where did you started out with, like, obviously, it was just you initially, but like how big is the team right now? And let's dive into a little bit into team building and why that's so important when you're building out an agency.
Yeah. So we're hiring at the moment. We're probably hiring a person every week and around the 30-person mark. So and
Nice.
another couple of months by the new year we'll be getting in close to 35 and 40 people. And we have like a pod structure there with that, and that's
And these
basically
guys are based out of the US or all over?
100% remote. And our team are actually in a few different places. So we have those in the Philippines. We have people in South Africa. We have some US expats in Mexico as well because they ended up marrying in there. So we've had it's a little diverse, and of course Australia as
Nice.
well. Yeah. And
Nice.
so basically it's really allows us to find the best people that we can. And so we found some amazing account managers out of South Africa that are fantastic from a communication standpoint, which is great. And
Amazing.
it's being able to
Amazing.
create some jobs there too, which is really cool.
Yeah.
And I believe that's
I
part of your mission too.
Yeah, and I sorry to cut you off there, but this one
Uh,
thing before I
sure.
forget. I was talking to Sean Clark, founder at High Level, and he was on my podcast, and we were talking about just building teams, and I was like, "How do you feel about hiring people all over the world, Sean?" And Sean's like, "I feel like I know this secret. It's really not a secret that by opening up the entire world for hiring." It basically gives me access to the best workforces in the world, right? And people who are still limiting themselves in one geolocation, I guess I don't know, like if they might not be doing justice to themselves. So I think that's amazing that you got people in Philippines, and you're strategically placing people. So for communication, you're using Australia and some expats, and then you got Philippines, and you got US, you got Mexico. So it's really great, man.
They are out
Amazing.
there, yeah, exactly, and that's kind of what you guys are offering as well, is finding those A players for people, and it doesn't matter where they come from. You'll find those A players no matter which country they actually reside in. And
Exactly.
we have people in the Philippines that will get on a Zoom call, and they will just talk with an agency owner in the US that is a seasoned agency owner, and they will talk shop and
Mm.
they will talk strategy like with HighLevel, and they will play tennis there on the Zoom call for 30 minutes straight, not even break a sweat. So those
Nice.
people are out there. I know that some people probably have bad experience, and so they get a bad preconception about what might be available in certain countries, but it's not the
Yeah,
case.
and
It's
I
just
think the
it's just finding good
experiences
people no
really
matter where
come.
they are.
Exactly, and the experiences usually come from because for what we touched upon earlier on, as agency owners, a lot of times we're coming into the agency world, maybe not having enough experience in running big teams and things like that. And all of a sudden, we're in charge of growing a team of 30, 40, 50 people, and we're at the top of them. And, we're going to do our best, but, we haven't been really trained in how to hire the best people and how to make them successful and things like that. So that's where, like when we're placing people, Anthony, one of our things is that, who is going to be the reporting manager for that associate that we're placing. And if that associate is going to be reporting to the agency owner, then in most cases that's a red flag for us, because that we want to place our people with a little bit bigger agencies, who are 40, $50,000 already in recurring revenue, who have structures in place, teams in place. Because as agency owners, if it's a guy like me, I'm going to be really great for a whole week, and then next week I'm going to change my focus, and this it's not fair to that person. Because I'm going to lose interest in that particular side of business that I was doing, and that person is left alone, and then a month later I'm going to be saying that, hey, what did you do, right? So that's not fair.
Mm.
So we really want to place people even inside RepStack to come and work for people like my brother, who's on the operation side, and he's got directors now, or on the HR side working with the director of HR and things like that, where they're reporting to somebody else, not me, because I'm the wrong person for first time. So hiring a VA for the first time and then having him report to the agency owner, I think that may not be the best investment. A better investment would be to work with a company like FuseMate, where you should, really rely on the expertise of the teams that you've already built out, so that you can scale that agency. And then there will be time that comes where you'll start building your
Yeah,
own team out slowly and steadily. But that happens, once you're having some solid recurring revenue below your belt, and you're like really being able to deliver the service and things like that. So
yeah.
so I feel that you guys are like in a very amazing niche, providing a very, very important service right now, because I can tell you that and we get a lot of these requests from agency owners who come in. I need to hire a high level expert yesterday, right? So and a lot of these agency owners don't qualify because they don't have experience running a team member, let alone using a virtual associate, who can come now and work with this, and they would expect the world out of this person. For
Mm.
a team like that, I feel that FuseMate is probably the best option, where instead of spending that money on this one team member, they can come and access your entire talented team of 30 plus people and things like that, right?
Well, they
Would
get it.
you agree to
Yeah,
that?
it's a great way to look at it as like a stepping stone. So
Yeah.
you start out with a freelancer, you move into really seeing yourself as an agency owner or a consultant. You're looking at sort of bringing on some extra help. You step into that next phase of having people internally, and throughout that whole process, you're learning and you're growing as an agency owner, as a business owner. Not only how can you sell and the strategy and understand how you're delivering that solution, but then it's getting into how to communicate with people. It's more than just yourself now. So the on-demand pod service that we offer helps provide a bit of a bridge, where they have one point of contact, but they have different disciplines like a funnel builder designs, people who just know the high level
Hmm.
tech and the back end, and then you have people who are doing like the WordPress development. These all go hand in hand, and that sort of agency owner doesn't have enough probably revenue to be able to hire all of them full time in one go,
Yeah.
and figure out how to communicate with them all as well, and still
Yeah, and
do the other
get the
stuff.
best out of every single, just one person, and you want them to
Yeah.
deliver the world for you, right? So
They're
it's
trying
just
to do
not.
all of it, yes, and
Yeah,
exactly. And asking someone to be able to be awesome at all of those things simply not because you believe they can, just because you feel like you don't have the resources otherwise, is not
yeah,
fair on that person. You ain't going to burn them out, or
yeah,
they're going to just go, sorry, you got no clue. I'm out of here. I'm going to work for someone else.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
and
yeah,
it,
yeah,
and I'll tell, and this is something else, Azara, is that it doesn't matter where they're from, as far as which country they reside in. All of them will pick up on this. They don't just
yeah,
have to, they all understand. They know when someone that doesn't know what they're doing, they understand a company that just isn't working. It doesn't matter where they're from. If you're working with A players in Pakistan or Philippines, they get it. The smart ones, the A
yeah.
players, they get it, and they won't put up with with crap, or being people that are really disorganized to where it really impacts them emotionally and mentally too. They
Yeah.
just want to do a good
So
job. You know.
they do, and they want to work for companies who are growing, who are passionate, and as agency owners, I know how passionate we are, but it's one, like you said, it's one step at a time. So figure out some of these things earlier on instead of hiring a team right from the get go. Work with white label partners like FuseMate. Get those revenues up, build up that stream, and in a lot of cases they can continue with relationships like that, and then once they've gotten to that point, there will be times to start out with hiring an implementer, and these would be even a higher level people that you would be hiring. You won't be hiring your first hire is not going to be a high level expert that you're going to hire. You're going to probably hire a chief operations officer or somebody like that who can come in, and now instead of the owner of the agency working with FuseMate, now this person can come in and work with FuseMate, right? So
Exactly.
you slowly build these things out. You can't expect the world from these poor kids working. No, and like you said, I don't care where they're from, whether they're from Philippines or Pakistan or they're based out of the US, they're all going to have the same experience no matter what, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
one step at a time is the
And when
way.
they go through the process with us there, and they're working with the project manager that they've been assigned to, that you can actually see the progress and how they get better in communicating and being
Yeah.
specific, and understanding that when they are forced to be specific about what they want, they're getting clear in their head. The less likely they'll change their mind. The more likely the end result is going to be done and out the door and working for them
Mm,
again and again and again. So we've seen the improvement in their own ability to communicate. So it makes sense that once they level up to that point of having someone directly inside that is now taking off some of the more administrative, client-facing type of work, they're going to be much better equipped for communicating to those people.
mm.
You know.
Agreed. I agree. So
Yeah.
let's switch gears a little bit, Anthony, and let's talk about how you guys are marketing, because a lot of agency owners also want to know. And I guess, in better use of a term, you guys are an agency helping other agencies out. So how do you guys market? How do you guys pull in customers? And what's your sales process like right now?
So at the moment, we have like Google Ads running. We have SEO working for us as well, and working with some key partners too for like referrals. So those are probably the main ones. We started early. We started with Facebook ads as well, and then we kind of moved away as they were becoming sort of problematic with a lot of the changes Facebook was doing, and so we moved away from that, and now we're actually stepping up a lot of our own content at the moment, which we're stepping up, and basically a lot of what our clients are actually learning. It's just putting that out there basically for others to be able to learn and get value from a lot of that as well, and to help educate on that front from a top of funnel perspective. So we'll be doing a lot more of
Nice,
that into the new year. So we've got I've got the video editor internally. We've got our content planning mapped out, and really
nice,
doing it so it's a really nice systematic process, which is what I kind of nerd out on from time to time in doing that stuff. Which I feel like helps. So that's where we're focusing our marketing at the moment, and we basically get on a call with everybody. You can't sign up from our website unless we've actually had a chat to really see if we're going to be a fit. Sometimes
mm,
we're not, and it's really about having that call where it's in terms of we're a fit or not, and letting them know what they
mm.
might be best to source as an option based on where they are if they're a bit too early for
And
us.
you take care of the sales side right now?
Yes, me and one other. Yeah.
Awesome.
Mhm.
So for discovery call that you guys have, once a lead comes in using SEO, you guys have some joint venture partners who are referring clients over to you guys. And then you guys are also running some Google paid ads. So based on this, people come in, they kind of raise their hands. We want to work with you, and then you kind of go on a discovery call where you talk to these people. So and then from the discovery call, is there another call that happens, or usually you try to close the deal right there?
Yeah, so that initial discovery call is really to get a feel for where they're at in their business, where are they trying to go. It's a little bit more high level as
Hmm.
far as where they're trying to go. Are we sort of someone that would be a good potential fit for them based on where they're at, how many people they are internally, how many clients they have, and a few of those key criteria to really suss
Hmm.
if it's worth continuing the conversation. And
Hmm.
that often leads to a second call, which is usually where we're getting into more of the details about how does this work? Who would I be talking to? What do those first tasks potentially look like? Do I need any
Hmm.
strategic help as well with some of my task stuff? And then from there, we would after that, if they are a good fit and they're looking to move forward, we would then look at the onboarding process.
Nice, nice. And then, so I guess so. We've gone through the marketing process. We've gone through your sales process. Pretty simple, straightforward. One of the biggest and most important challenges that especially when you get to that 30, 40, $50,000 of recurring revenue, is retaining your clients. So, what is the process like on your side? How do you retain your clients for as long as possible? Do you guys use account managers? What kind of service can somebody expect on that side?
So, well, retaining clients goes sort of hand in hand with our company culture as well, based on how we also look after our own team members and how we look after our clients, and having
Mm,
various processes in place in order to make sure we are looking after everyone as much as we can, or identifying any areas where we need to be making an improvement for whatever XYZ reason. And so, if we're able to sort of retain our team members and our staff, look after them, and that really stems from being a good culture. And this is not just about how much you actually pay them. There's a lot of factors now besides just pay that people are looking for, even in the Philippines and South Africa. There's also, okay, well, that pays great. So, but actually, just tell me about your company and who works there,
mm,
and even
mm,
asking to talk to other team members to really get like the real scoop on what it's like to work at a place. And we're
mm.
really big on my door, my virtual door, and our operations manager's doors are always open. And if you need to
Yeah.
talk about something from a company or business standpoint, or from your own work, or personally, please come and talk about it. So we really do our best to make sure that we're always there and sort of really coming from like a business family standpoint, and really feel like that people are accessible if they really need to reach out, and making them comfortable over time that they can talk to us and they don't have to hide things under the rug. It's not that type of
Yeah.
company. You might have worked at a place like that previously, but it's not the way we work here. And
Mm,
taking a moment and doing some non-scalable things like jumping on a quick call for 3 to 5 minutes and just quickly talking something out, or showing them something, or giving them a ninja trick or a hack or something they can add to their daily checklist that's going to really help them. Those types of things go a long way to making them feel supported, and that where they work
mm,
actually cares about them as a person, their family, but not just seeing them as a number. And
mm.
doing things like that means they're going to do their best work. They're going to go above and beyond. Last week, I
Yeah.
even just had one of the guys just work an extra hour or two afterwards, and he was never asked to do it. But he did it because he really wanted to get this over the line for the client, and he was doing it with a smile on his face, me obviously having a quick chat with him just to make sure everything was okay.
Yeah.
It's those types of check-ins, and if you're able to take the time to do it, or even have an operations manager like we do also do those check-ins, and too, goes a long way to having your 40, 50, 60, man, team, people team, actually having everyone feel like they're almost like the only one on the team. And if you can do that, it goes a
Mm,
long way. They're going to give back. And so getting back to retaining clients, if your team feels like they have that kind of support, they're going to do their best work. They're going to go above and beyond, which is going to tie into the kind of customer experience you're giving them, your client experience. It has a direct correlation, and it's going to have a trickle-on effect. So now they're going to go
mm,
above and beyond. Their account or project managers are going to be, they're more proactive, and they're looking at ways to be proactive and for them and say, have you thought about doing this? You know what? I think by the end of the week, if we can get the extra task in our queue ready to go, John, I think next week you're going to be in a good place for your launch in XYZ. And the client is saying, well, that's great. I was going to get to that. I'm so glad you're thinking of that ahead of time. That's awesome. Let's just jump on a quick 5-minute Zoom. I can do that just before I go and pick the kids up from school. So now you're not just seen as just this number that just is a necessity, a necessity or expense for them. Now they're seeing you as a true partner, and they feel supported. That just means that if you can do that consistently enough, you're going to go. It's going to go a long way to retaining your clients for years, not just a few weeks.
Yeah, that's awesome. I think and a lot of us, and this is the first time I'm hearing this, how culture plays an important part in retention of your clients. And at the end of the day, we want to retain as many clients as possible, but we're not going to be able to do it if our own people are not taken care of. So that's huge, man. I think that you beautifully tied that together. To start by creating a culture where people want to come to work, they want to go above and beyond. I've been a part of companies in my past jobs where, Anthony, at the end of the weekend, my gut was like, it felt like somebody's punching in my guts because I didn't want to go back to the job. Right. So, and at this particular company, we intentionally wanted to create an environment where people want to come to work, people want to hang out. And I'm really proud to say that, we do a employee satisfaction score score every quarter. And one of the biggest reasons that people enjoy working here is the culture, that they feel that they're part of something bigger, and things like that. So
That's
we're
good.
extremely proud of that, and I'm glad that you brought this up, because so many of us, we try to solve this problem. We overcomplicate the retention problem. It's that simple. Create a place where your people can come and really give it their all every single day, and then from there, it's really retention is not rocket science. It's basically, you communicate with your clients, and they feel that they belong. And when they come in contact with these people who are part of this amazing culture that you've created, they'll be like, wow, man, I'm glad that this John is handling my account right now, right? So pretty straightforward.
Yeah. And it goes a long way to also just increasing your customer lifetime value too, because they're willing to spend more with you because they feel supported. They know they feel like they can get more done, and it will still be sort of delivered. So from a business agency standpoint, it's good for that too, where there's a really nice reciprocal relationship there. That 100%. That'll be one of the things I would suggest. Just if you're looking at client retention, it's not just the sort of gimmicks or anything. It's just the foundational stuff done well and consistently.
Foundational stuff.
100% looking after your team and seeing it as a true investment. And because if they're thinking about, well, you've got a past experience which wasn't great, as you just illustrated, have that in the back of your mind. Any of my team members thinking about that, and what are the things I would want, and I never got, and you have the opportunity to be able to learn from it, even if it's just one. You're doing an extra thing once, twice a year. It adds up.
Totally. There you go, guys. That's the masterclass on retention right there for you guys. Simple stuff, but we don't tend to think about that, right? We try to solve this problem in so many different ways, but it really is to the core of it. It's such a simple thing. It's just human beings taking care of other human beings, and make them belong, and they'll make sure that your clients stay with you for as long as possible. So before we end this, Anthony, I want to just ask you, what word of advice would you have for an agency owner who's starting out right now, or who's wanting to grow their agency from a level that they've gone to the next level, or get to that coveted $1 million mark?
It would be keeping it simple and focus on providing a solution, not just widgets and features. So to give you an example, what we do based on, obviously we're providing at white level support, and we have people that are very skilled, but we're not in the business of doing website development. That's not what we do. That's not what we offer. What we're in the business of is giving people time. We sell time. we sell time back to our customers, they get that back. And I have the emails to prove it from customers that have said, I can't believe it. I was able to finish, painting my daughter's bedroom I promised for after the 6 months, and I was able to still have my materials prepped for my Thursday meeting, thanks to you guys. I have the emails there. And the emails of someone being able to do more pastor work because his time's been freed up and he's been able to do that, and his wife doesn't have to work as much. Have those emails. And that's the type of mission that we're on. And so I think if you're able to simplify and just focus on a solution, and just one solution, you have 2 or 3 offers that you can stick 99% of your prospects into one of, say, 3 buckets and no more than that, and simplify it, and you're selling the transformation of where they're going. And if they just focus on that in the beginning and remove the bright, shiny objects, I think they're going to get where they want to go much faster and with a lot less headache.
I agree. I think that's such a great advice. Keep it simple, avoid the shiny object syndrome. So your service should be based not on features. We all got features. Simplify the hell out of that service so that, it's a solution for a pain point that everyone's going through. A lot of us are overburdened. Our time is completely out of control. Give them back that time. And like, by keeping it simple, I think the other thing that you're doing is that you're not overcomplicating things for yourself. Like, 90%, like you said, 90% of your clients can just fall into 1, 2, or 3 of these packages, and now you can build out an entire organization similar to what Anthony's done at FuseMate, with SOPing out every single process for these 3 types of clients that you're going to be bringing in. So you'll be able to scale a lot faster. So, go slow, simplify things in order for you to go faster.
Yeah.
So,
and it makes it easier for you as the agency doing a lot of the sales and strategy up front to talk about your solution. You're not scattered yourself. It's very 1, 2, 3. And if you can do that and talk in simple terms and not get stuck in the weeds, your end prospect's going to get it. And they're going to feel smart because they get it. And that's only going to help them want to move forward with you, because they get it, and it's very simple, because you're making it simple for them and understanding the solution and the outcome. You're making them feel like you get them, where everyone else out here is saying, here's your client, do your Google ads, and they're all selling the features and the widgets, as opposed to just looking at them as an individual, much like we talked about the team, and just saying, look, I think this is how we can get there, understanding their problems, and then how your solution is the bridge to get them to that promised land of where they want to be. And if you understand that, you have them feel like you truly get them. Now they're seeing you as a true partner, and just not some person, not just some another fly-by-night agency or marketer, that they might have a bad impression of from past experiences. You're rising above that. That's it. I would just leave it there.
That's amazing. That's such a simple advice. Grow your agency. Keep it simple. Keep it solution focused, not feature focused, and you'd be good to go. And it's not going to only help you grow your agency, but it's going to help you in every aspect. Even your sales process gets easier. Your marketing process gets easier. Anthony, thanks for showing up today, man. It was a pleasure talking to you. How can people contact you?
Oh, the best way would be just to go to the website, fusemate.io, and you can also find me on LinkedIn at my name, Anthony Puttee, on LinkedIn. Happy to connect.
That's awesome. Thanks for doing this, Anthony. This is going to be a really great addition to our growing list of podcasts, and I highly recommend just reaching out to Anthony and talking about, if you're trying to build out your business or your agency who needs some help on the high level side of things, reach out to Anthony and his team and just have a simple conversation. It is really easy to talk to, I promise.
Likewise. Thanks, Azar. I appreciate the time.
Thanks, Anthony.